Hey guys, it's Kris Jones. This is episode 2 of Ask Kris Jones questions about SEO, personal professional development, and entrepreneurship. I'm actually here in Connecticut at a friend's house, but I did want to put out this video and kind of reflect a little bit, answer some of the questions that you guys posted, both publicly as well as you sent me privately. I want to thank you for that. Feel free to send me questions privately, but I'd really prefer you to go ahead and post them right below this video so that I could answer those questions in a future video. A couple of things. There were several questions that I think hit on one of sort of my core themes as an entrepreneur. I'm a very sort of mechanical thinker. This is hard for some entrepreneurs to hear and absorb, but one of my core beliefs is that often ideas are overrated. We invest so much energy, so much emotion in our ideas that we kind of are blinded to probably one of the strongest correlations of successful entrepreneurship, and that's execution. So I think it's okay to get really excited about an idea that you believe solves a problem, or an idea that you feel is unique and that could really make a difference, solve a problem or create an opportunity for you. But ultimately, a lot of my success has come from studying why successful entrepreneurs succeed and those that fail, why they fail. And it almost never has anything to do with having a bad idea. Bad ideas tend not to take off right from the beginning, and you could see there's no product market fit. And for what it's worth, unless you're willing to just completely spin your wheels, there will be a lot of evidence right out of the gate that a bad idea is just that. But again, I kind of think about my success from the point of view of sort of the science of business success. So there are 3 questions that I'm going to answer today. If you have additional questions, please post them below. I'd appreciate that, or send me private messages. The first one comes from a gentleman by the name of Dan. And Dan said, Kris, there are so many of us that get stuck as solopreneurs. And we have difficulty making the leap to becoming an entrepreneur. And I guess the thinking here is that when you start a business, you manage a website, you try to make money from the website, what would otherwise be a business, and you try to make money from it. How do you scale it? Early in my career, I came up with a 3-step process. From sort of going from a solopreneur, which I was, by the way, I was an affiliate, and I wanted to become more than that. I wanted to build a business that was worth money. So it's a 3-step process. Number 1, find something that works. Number 2, replicate it. Number 3, scale it. That simple formula could be applied to just about any business concept that you may have. A lot of solopreneurs get stuck at number 1, just finding something that works. They're not sure. That second step is more of a sort of a safeguard to make sure that whatever it is that you find that works could actually be replicated under different circumstances. Let me give you a quick example. Early in my career, I was an affiliate, and I built a gourmet food website called pepperjam.com. And we started to promote gourmet foods on that site. Outside of the one that my grandmother made for us when we were kids called Pepper Jam, we partnered with igourmet.com. And igourmet was willing to pay us a percentage of the sales for any referrals. And I noticed that, the more traffic that I purchased or was able to acquire organically that would come into pepperjam.com, the more gourmet food sales I would have. So that worked. I was making money. I was pulling out more money than I was putting into it. So I was making profit. But I thought, there are probably about, at that time, 1999, early 2000, there are about 2,000 other companies at that time who had affiliate programs. And so I figured, well, boy, can I take what I've built here with the relationship I have with iGourmet and reproduce it 2,000 times. And I figured if I can make $50 to $100 profit for each of those 2,000 merchants that were available on the affiliate networks back then, Linkshare, Commission Junction, and there's a company called reporting.net or BeFree, I could become a millionaire. So what I did is I moved from gourmet food, and then I started to promote cookware through a site we created called cookwarefinder.com, and I replicated it. And sure enough, you know, if I put $500 of an investment, either through paid search traffic or whatever, into it, I'd pull out $750 or $1,000. I was like, geez, that's much more than the $100 of profit that I had targeted. And I built a system around that to replicate it to the point where I knew that there was scale. And that's the third step of my three-pronged sort of solopreneur to entrepreneur sort of strategy or test, is it's time to scale it. I took every credit card that I had at that time, which amounted to probably $100,000 to $200,000 of credit. And I was, let's see, I probably was in my first year of law school at that point. So I was spending, even though I was going to school full time, I was probably spending, 5, 6, 7 hours a day building out additional websites or additional landing pages to scale the business. By my second year of law school, I was using that simple model, finding something that works, number one, 2, replicating it, and 3, scaling it. I had built an affiliate marketing business that was generating between $50,000 and $100,000 profit a month. And believe it or not, over the next couple years, I had accumulated enough capital that when I launched Pepper Jam, the digital marketing agency, in 2004, I had founded that company with about $2.3, $2.4 million in the bank that I had generated through my profits as an affiliate marketer. So again, Dan, I mean, it's about really thinking about, if you want to go from a solopreneur to an entrepreneur, it's about thinking through scale. How do you take what you're doing and multiply it? How do you replicate it and then scale it? It's a process that I think becomes a lot more obvious if you get stuck at step 2. If you have difficulty replicating, whatever it is that you're doing, chances are that you're going to have a lot of difficulty building it into a business like I did, where it would be worth, many times what it would have been worth if I didn't scale it. Something to think about. And, in future videos, I will kind of dive a little bit deeper into the mechanics of, how I think about scaling businesses. So feel free to ask any questions around that. I do know that because I've been there, I've done it. I've been right where you guys are at. For those of you that are either startup entrepreneurs or early in your career, you haven't generated your first $1 million in revenue or whatever the test or the idea that you would have in your mind for what successful entrepreneurship is all about. So feel free to ask me questions about that. Second question was from a woman who first said, Kris, thanks for doing these videos. She had always found me inspirational over the years, and her name is Beverly. And she also thanked me for being such a good role model within Northeastern Pennsylvania, where I'm from. I'm sharing that with you because it means a lot to me. I think part of what I'm trying to do with these videos and in my career is give back. If I could inspire even one person, but my goal is many more than one, to become anywhere near as fortunate and successful as I've become, I will consider my life to be extraordinarily meaningful, and that's exactly what I'm doing. But so Beverly's question was, she's like, Kris, I'm an idea machine. She's like, I had the idea for bread before it was bread. Beverly, and she said she had a product idea that she's pitched to Shark Tank, among others, and, had some difficulty, not difficulty, but she just never heard back. Let me tell you a quick story, Beverly. So many people don't know this, but prior to my success as an internet marketer, I had this gourmet food business where we marketed a product my grandmother made for us when we were kids called pepper jam. My grandmother called it Mississippi Mud. In 1998, my sister Jennifer, my brother Rick, and myself went to a food show in New York City called the Fancy Food Show. I think that's what it's called, Fancy Food Show. And we were walking around, and trying to learn more about the gourmet food industry. And there was a gentleman who was mic'd up and talking to a crowd of people. He was cooking in front of them. This was kind of like the earlier days of celebrity chefs, right? So this is a good 16, 17 years ago. And his name was Chef Jorge Bruce. And, we listened to Chef Jorge, and when he was done, we walked up to him and we said, hey, we have this great product. We're calling it Grandma Jones's Originals Pepper Jam. And he had seen on our name badge that we were holding ourselves out as a .com, pepperjam.com. And he was, very interested in taking his personal brand online, but also, wanted to follow up with us after my sister actually had given him a little sample of the product, and he dipped his finger in it and tasted it. And he was like, wow, this is really good. He wanted to follow up with us. So I set up a call to follow up with him. On that call, he had said, have you guys ever thought about taking the product on QVC? And I was on the phone. I put my hand over the phone. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe, we're so early in the company that was a mere dream of ever being able to take the product on QVC. And ironically, my brother Rick and I had talked about that early in, years before. Anyway, long story short, Chef Jorge went through a series of steps and got our product in the hands of the right people at QVC. Beverly, what I've told this story very few times. You know how many times I had to follow up with QVC, with the product team there, before they actually green-lighted Grandma Jones's Originals to appear on QVC? Over 100 times. I was actually in law school at the time, so this was the early 2000s, and I remember pretty much every day, because I was working on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., I would call the product specialist, and I would just build a relationship with her. I wanted to learn everything I could about her. On a Friday, I would call and say, I forget her name at this point, but let's just say her name was Sally. I would call her on Friday and say, hey, Sally, it's Kris Jones from Grandma Jones's Pepper Jam. I know you guys aren't in a position to take the product on just yet, but I just wanted to wish you and your family a wonderful weekend. I'd call her on holidays. I would email her. I would share links with her that I thought were interesting on the gourmet food industry. Over 100 calls in, I get a call back from Sally. And Sally said, Christopher, very good news. We were able to get the green light, and your product will appear on In the Kitchen with Bob. And she gave me the date. And I just about, I don't remember, let's just say I was sitting in a chair. I literally wanted to fall out of the chair. That's how excited I was. So persistence, I often say to like sales teams that I've worked with over the years that, you shouldn't even expect for someone to answer your email until at least the 10th time. And you've got to stop selling. Think about how you could, build a relationship. People do business with people that they like, people that, that they want to work with. And it often has a lot more to do with just how ingenious your idea is and more about the approach you take. So in sales, the guy that I use, that I model, Chet Holmes, teaches that you touch your prospect over time, and that you set your expectations that the follow-up that you need in order to get them to take the next steps, which hopefully would be doing business with you, need to be value added, not salesy. And I think with the QVC example, it's a true story, and there's no exaggeration. From what I think, it was like 130 times I responded back. And that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but that's the type of work ethic that I've had over the years to get the types of things that I want, including my grandmother's product on QVC, which is a true story. So it's just persistence, and there's nothing wrong with what you did, which is to reach out to someone like myself who does have some experience in the space for advice. So kudos to you. The final question came in regarding digital marketing. Some looking for some advice on, how do you know that you've kind of claimed a stake and kind of made it as a digital marketer? Honestly, I've been doing this for so long, and I feel as much a student today as I did in the beginning. Yes, I'm a subject matter expert because I've been around it for so long. But ultimately, I think it's Tony Robbins uses a word which I'll probably reference in future videos because it's one of my favorite acronyms of all time. It's CANI. And he calls that constant. It refers to constant and never-ending improvement. I think it's one of the secrets of success, is how can you, and this is another thing Tony says, day in and day out, every day in every way, I'm growing stronger and stronger. So in the digital marketing space, I think it's just about absorbing trends, and trying to predict to some degree, what the next big moves are going to be within the space, and just staying on top of it, being part of the conversation, getting to the point where you could contribute articles to publications like Search Engine Watch and Search Engine Journal and Search Engine Land, and those types of publications, and speaking at conferences and that kind of thing. And even then, I sit on panels at, say, PubCon and whatnot, and I'll be sitting next to a panelist, and I'll be like, oh my God, this individual, like Greg Gifford, my boy, my buddy from the local SEO space. I mean, Greg's so dynamic. I mean, Greg is so far ahead of the competition in terms of his knowledge and insights in a local SEO that all of us that are in that space as well, need to absorb everything we possibly can. So anyway, you just have to immerse yourself into it. And, life, I am such a big believer that, 85, if not 95, if not 99% of success in life is attitude. Waking up every single morning with the attitude that you will work your tail off. You will be as positive as you can, because being in a positive state will put you in a much better likelihood of overcoming challenges and hardship. And ultimately, just having the attitude of, I can, or I will. And, I'll kind of end this video, and I hope to be able to dedicate an entire video to this in the future. There's a lot of people that I look up to and aspire to out there, that talk about this idea of adding more value than you take. If you could figure out a way in everything you do, the relationship you have with your significant other, your role as a parent, your role as an employee, or your role as a CEO, if you just thought through and accepted that your level of success in each of those roles will be determined by how much value you give, not what you get back, but what you give. If you could start thinking that way, where you approach everything in your life in a way where you just try to give more than you take out of it, I think that a light bulb will go off. And not only will you become a happier individual, but you will be priming yourself for levels of success that you may not even think you're capable of. So with that, I'm going to sign off. There may have been a couple of questions that I didn't get to today. I promise I will in a future episode. I wish you guys, it's 2 days before the new year. And, one thing I learned in life is that, happiness for many people is elusive. But one way of spending more time smiling and being thankful is to be grateful for where we are right now, where your life is right now. Don't be so hard on yourself if you don't have everything that you desire. I mean, that's life. The irony is that when you start accumulating things, if you will, or start achieving things, you'll want more. So I'd argue, as you approach 2017, I could tell you this is where my heart is that it's time to kind of reflect and be grateful for what you do have. Those of you that know me well know that I lost my mom just a couple of weeks ago, and my heart is absolutely broken. But I could tell you that I'm also inspired. I'm inspired by the 27 years that she gave me before she passed. I'm inspired by the example that she gave of always opening your door and helping others in need. I'm inspired by the example she set when I was a young kid, about working hard, I'm telling you, this is the defining characteristic of what motivates me, of making people you love proud. You don't have to overcomplicate success and happiness. I'm all about being a high achiever. I mean, that's who I am. But be grateful for where you're at right now and set goals going into 2017 about who you can become. Every day and every way, you should be growing stronger and stronger. Set goals around your potential, not what you don't have, but around who you could become. It's a never-ending process. It's a process you and I are in together. So have a great New Year's Eve, and look forward to 2017 being the best year of your life, where you add more value than you take, and it's a year that helps you get closer to becoming, whatever dreams it is that you may have. With that, Happy New Year. Post your questions below.